Welcome everyone. I'm Andrew Stuck. I'm one of the co-founders of the Urban Tree Festival, and I'm based in Greenwich. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to write straight away in the chat. What I want you to do is I want you to imagine you are a tree who lives in your nearby road or street. And I want to get you to introduce yourself as that tree and write that in the chat. So think about the trees nearby in your local street, or if you live on an estate, on the estate that you live on, choose one of those trees and introduce yourself as that tree and write that in the chat. We'll just see if there's anyone else that's going to come in, and I'll let them in. But if you can start doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about the Urban Tree Festival. I'll then tell you a little bit about the competition that we're launching today. And then I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Vermeire. Now, I have to apologize, Joanna Woolfarth and M.L. Grieve, better known as Michelle, who are our writers in residence, have both succumbed to either COVID or the flu. I'm not sure which. I don't think they know which either, but one's lost her voice and the other has been unwell and in bed for nearly 7 days. So the good news is that my colleague Vermeire, who is also got a green screen behind him, is a poet and writer. And so he's going to do a presentation for you, which will last about 20-25 minutes. And at the end of the session, we're going to tell you a bit more about how you can submit to the competition. But first, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Urban Tree Festival. The Urban Tree Festival was created 5 years ago in 2018. And it was four of us who got together. We were volunteers, if you like, freelancers at the time. And we got together and decided that what we needed was something to celebrate trees in urban and suburban areas. And we did that through running a series of what we called workshops, which were pretty much sort of tree ID type of things, where we took people on walks through different patches of streets and parks in parts of London. And what was brilliant was we actually crowdfunded that using a Kickstarter campaign, and a charity called Trees for Cities in London matched the pledges we got. So we raised about £3.5 grand. But, you know, £3.5 grand doesn't go very far. And we distributed as honorarium to, wait for this, the 100 and odd people who got involved. And since then, that's pretty much how we've been working. And some of you have generously donated at times to the Urban Tree Festival, and we hope you will do in the future, because once again, it's cap in hand time. We're not funded by any stretch of the imagination. We get a little bit of support from the Woodland Trust at the moment. And if we're lucky, we get some money from the Mayor of London, but it's not a lot. And the majority of the funding we get is from individual donations, people who donate instead of purchasing a ticket. The other great news is, though, is the community is getting bigger and bigger. So we probably have as many as 450 to 500 people who have contributed their time and goodwill and effort to various tree festivals as we've gone through the years. And we started the writing competition in 2020. And the idea of the writing competition was actually to, you know, go beyond tree ID and get, you know, more people interested and get them enthused about celebrating urban trees. And it proved to be a fantastic success. We combined poetry and flash stories in an anthology chapbook, of which I'd hold up a copy, but foolishly I've hidden it somewhere, but I'll find a copy and hold it up so that people can see it. And so what happens is that we have volunteer judges who judge the works that are submitted. and they choose their winner and runner-up. Plus, they have a long list and a short list. So what happens is the long list gets published on the Urban Tree Festival website and is usually sort of 24 or maybe 30 poems and stories. And then we have a short list which comes from them, and they're actually published in an anthology, has an ISBN, and goes out to the big wide world, and you get complimentary copies if you're a shortlister. And then the runner-up and the winner receive other prizes. And this year, what we're offering is we're offering a €200 prize for a person who writes the winning poetry piece and the winning prose piece. So you each get €200. The runners-up will also get artwork. Now, what's happened, which is different, is that I'm also co-director of a social enterprise, which is based in Belgium, which is called Walk, Listen, Create. And Walk, Listen, Create is a not-for-profit which works to support artists, performers, and writers across the globe who find inspiration through walking. So it's not actually that difficult to encourage you to walk through the urban forest, because inevitably you're going to be walking through streets and parks and roads, looking at trees. So the good news about Walk, Listen, Create is that it has a fantastically simple and straightforward submission process, one. And two, it has a really brilliant way in which the judges can see all the different pieces that have been submitted. In the past, we had to do that, by saving files into spreadsheets and passing emails backwards and forwards and acknowledging everything backwards and forwards, and it produced huge amounts of admin. But the Walk, Listen, Create site actually saves us hugely on admin. But what will happen is that you will be asked to submit in euros, which I think is sometimes catches some people out. But don't panic, we'll walk you through that at the end. So what I'm hoping is that some of you may have introduced yourselves as a tree from your nearby street. And if you haven't done that yet, I hope you will chip that into the chat. We're going to get you doing some writing with pen and paper. But what we're really trying to do is get you excited about writing about trees and thinking about the theme for the competition, which this year is Secrets of the Trees. I'm not sure why, but our writers in residence insisted on capitalizing the T in the. So maybe some of you might tell me why that is, but it's Secrets of Capitalized the Trees. So we'll encourage you to think about that. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to ask Geert to introduce himself and to give you a little presentation about the way in which he works. And I think he's going to give you some writing prompts as well. So I'm going to hand over to Geert, and you're going to share your screen, Geert, hopefully.
I will just say hello to you all first, and thank you, Andrew, for this the beautiful introduction, and most of all for this celebration of trees and writing, which is much appreciated. I'm Geert Vermeire. I'm a Belgian poet. For me, poetry extends pen and paper, as you may see, and I have a passion for the language of nature. So I'll tell you a bit about my practice. I know that there are as many approaches to writing with trees as there are writers in this room, but I hope to give you some of my ways of doing that, and maybe to hear from you as well. So I'll share my screen and to show you some of the things I do. I start with, there we go. Okay. Now you should see my screen now. Is that correct?
Yeah, all good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there you see me. For me, writing, drawing, oh, it's doing something I didn't intend to. Okay, there we go. I didn't want to go that fast. Okay. So writing and drawing and walking, let's call it writing with the body. There's more than being limited to the dimensions of a piece of paper is essential for my practice. Although I started as a traditional poet, I came very soon, already at 18, to exploring other ways of working with writing as a gesture, writing with the body as an instrument. But talking about trees, which were for me always an inspiration, because they represent a wisdom beyond the human wisdom. And because Andrew was talking about the secrets of trees, I had to think about a story in African mythology, which actually is about a secret word. In African mythology, the origin of language, or the first word ever spoken, is considered now as a secret word. After being spoken, when the first word came to light, it became invisible, and it was hidden inside of a tree. So it would be not only protected and cared for, but also be something that shows human beings that we are connected beyond language with everything around us. And that language only reflects not only communication with each other, but with the world as a whole. This triggered me to start to write as a poet in a more than human language. I was always curious to understand the language of nature, and not only to write in it, but also to hear it. And together with a colleague of mine, Stefan van Biesen, who lives very close to where I am now in Antwerp, we started to explore how we actually could achieve this communication, and how we could create a poetry that connected both to the world of humans with the world of non-humans, which is actually one world. And one of the first things we did was a whisper hut, which allowed you to not only listen, but also to whisper to trees. Actually, our first collaboration was during an exhibition where we walked together, but us also invited people to go and stand in this sort of amplifying device, which ended up, you cannot see it very well, there's a very small tree at the end. And if you were standing in this amplifying device, you were not only seeing the small tree in front of you, but it was also allowing you to whisper to it, to give words to it, words of encouragement, words of care, which is for me the alpha and omega of all poetry. About caring for what is around you by giving attention to it. We did this as well in workshop with children, and we extended this feeling of care we had, but also this feeling of connection we had with nature by starting to write poetry on this, in this case, on cushions that were bound with ropes around trees. So to write poetry for trees, and to sort of connect them on a very soft way, not on an invasive way, not on a manipulative way. What for me is the essence of language and poetry. It's not about imposing a reality. It's not about imposing something on the world. It's letting it emerge from the world itself. So it's a language that is already there and that you reveal. And that is what we wanted to do by pursuing discussions, also referring to sleep, to dream, and to as well, again, caring on a soft way. Lots of ecological artists, they use nails to hang their works in trees or on trees. For me, it's like a horror to think about that. Another way that we brought poetry for and with trees was, for example, in this performance, where we were standing, Stefan and I, for about 4 hours, connected with each other with a shirt that only had the two shirts that were had only two sleeves, the sleeves that we were stretching out to each other, standing around the tree after we had put words we wanted to give to these trees on the branches around us, and standing there in a silent communication for 4 hours. Now, another series of actions we did were making libraries for trees. Again, with the same principle that we believe that there is a knowledge in trees that is not only limited to human language, but to a universal language that is going beyond the words that exist in our mind, but that exist and emerge from our body, from our being, from our senses. And as well, not only these libraries were for trees, they were also for birds, ironically, because birds know everything without having to read a book. They have everything inside of themselves. And again, because the wisdom or the knowledge of people can be quite harsh and manipulative, we put cushions to make it more softer, to bring the human knowledge to the knowledge of trees and to receive this knowledge back. We as well made libraries with, let's say, planted words. We have put small words into little pots for two reasons, hoping that they would grow to strong and more beautiful beings, but as well showing the fact that for us, words are something organic, something natural, something that also need care, that needs ground, that needs water, that needs the attention to become a poem or a text or language. This is another one. We did various of these libraries in countries around Europe and in Latin America. Now, coming back to writing, a project that we did with actually Stefan and I, we were very intense letter writers. We have a corpus of letters to each other that goes in the many hundreds. But we don't only write to each other, we also write to trees. And not just like that, like writing about trees, but because we see that a paper for us is like a skin that connects us with the skin of a tree. And our skin is actually what we write with. So we called it skin letters, the letters that we were writing to trees. And these letters were written by touching and by being connected in a tree, by putting our skin on the skin of the tree. And these series of letters became also an invitation to not only to stand still with trees, but also to walk. So we connected this experience of writing letters with long walks we made together between trees and coming to texts that we wrote together. Again, many of my work is collaborative. It's made together with others, as with Stefan van Biesen, but also I cannot separate my writing from being in nature and being part of nature. So I'm not writing only to trees, I'm writing with trees. They are as much part of the text, weaving into it as I'm making it. So that's something about my work and an invitation maybe to reflect about the possibilities of writing for and with trees, urban in this case. And I know there are many approaches possible, and would love to hear from yours as well. But just to trigger you to get writing more about urban trees, I wanted you to invite to do two small exercises. The first being a whisper to a tree, and to write down in the next 5 minutes a set of words you want to whisper to a small tree. This to start with, you can write them down on a piece of paper. And if you want to, you can share them after you have given some thought in the chat as well. But I would like to continue with this exercise by not only writing them down, but as well whisper them and to record them, for example, with your computer or with your smartphone, and to attach this recording to a photograph of a tree, like with a tool like in Google Slides, where you can put a sound recording onto a photograph, and to send it to a friend. So I would like to invite you to do this now for the coming 5 minutes to reflect a bit what you would like to whisper to a tree, and to write that down on a piece of paper. And if you want to share this on the chat, and I will be back in like 5 minutes. So we give it like 1 minute more. If you want to share something, feel free to do so. If you would like to keep it your whispers to yourself, that's where whispers are about. So thank you all for these beautiful whispers. If you want to continue writing them in the chat, please do so. You don't have to stop now. And just for the people that didn't have the chance yet to check out the chat, please do so. There are some beautiful thoughts and words growing there. I would like to go with you to a next exercise. Let me see if this. Yes. So I would like to invite you to write a letter to a tree, which of course has not to be finished today. But I would like you to reflect and think about a first phrase, or first line, or even a first short paragraph of a letter that you would like to write to a tree in your neighborhood, the tree in your neighborhood where you have written about in the chat when Andrew started his introduction, for example, an urban tree, a tree in a street, a tree around the place where you live, if you're living in an urban environment at least. And to share this as well in the chat if you would like to. This as a beginning, I would like to invite you to write a full letter to a tree, but not only on your laptop, but to copy it or even write it directly on paper with your hands as a gesture, and to go to this tree where you are writing this letter for, or where you imagine to write this letter for, and to touch it with your skin on his skin, to photograph it with your skin or with your hand, if you feel like, and then to combine it in a document, the photographed letter and the photograph of the tree, and to send it to a friend. But for now, I would like to invite you to start this letter. One line, one phrase, a short paragraph to the tree in your neighborhood, in your urban environment, where you are close to. And we give it also like 5 minutes before we come back to you. We'll give it another minute. If you feel like sharing what you're writing, then you can copy paste it in the chat. And about 2 minutes, we'll come back to you. Thank you all for these beginnings of letters that are popping up in the chat. Just really beautiful to read. This is my part of the journey. Okay. Andrew, do you want to comment on this or compliment something?
I must say I'm rather taken with the idea of whispering to a tree. I think that's rather good. I've certainly written letters in my time, but I don't think I've written to a tree, so that was a bit of a challenge. What we're going to just go through now is we're going to go through a little bit more about the competition and hopefully explain how fairly easy it is to get involved. First off, because you booked on this event, you've all registered on Walk, Listen, Create. And as I mentioned, we're a not-for-profit supporting writers like yourself, artists and performers who get some kind of inspiration from walking. But we have quite a significant community now. We have more than 1,600 contributors to the Walk, Listen, Create website, and they contribute in lots of different ways, through linking their blogs, through archiving pieces or work that they've written, performed, or composed, and there are lots of other ways in which you can interconnect. Now, amongst the participants here, I might embarrass her a little bit, but we have Cheryl Markowski, who is our writer in residence from one of our own walking writing competitions. What we do is we have writers in residence, and we encourage them to get involved and see how we can support what they do. And we also offer residencies. We've just had the opportunity of offer a 2-week residency in the Pyrenees. And we do all that through either applying for funding, raising small amounts of revenue from some of our members, but also through getting sponsorship. And those are the sorts of things that we get up to on Walk, Listen, Create. So what I'd really recommend you do when you get a chance is just have a flick through the Walk, Listen, Create site a little bit and see what's there. You'll find that we have a interactive writing project which is called Shorelines, and we also have, as I say, competitions that run during the year. We'll have a competition starting in April next year around Easter, and those are the sorts of things that go on Walk, Listen, Create. But the opportunity you have also is you can add a bit of bio, you can link in your, you can put a headshot in if you haven't got one already, you know, that kind of thing. And you can discover who else is involved in what we're up to across the globe. Now, the Urban Tree Festival is scheduled to take place between the 13th and the 21st of May. And I have my suspicions that might coincide with the coronation of King Charles III. But at the moment, it's sitting there on those dates. And we're keen to recruit people if they wish to volunteer and get involved in running the festival. So if that's something that might be of interest to you, then do get in contact with us through the Urban Tree Festival site. But you're going to submit to this competition via the Walk, Listen, Create site. And the good news, as I say, is you've already registered, so you don't need to worry about registering again. You just need to remember your login details and your password. And even if you forget that, you can rejig your password. Now, the competition itself has an entry fee of €6 for one piece and €9 for two pieces. When you go to the competition page, you will have the opportunity to pay the entry fee and submit. You don't have to pay the entry fee at the same time as submitting if you wanted to pay the entry fee. But whatever you do, you've got to get your submissions in before the 13th of March. And that's a Monday, and it's midnight GMT. Okay, so if you live in a different time zone, you can squeeze a few more hours into whatever you're writing. But hopefully you won't just be leaving it to the last minute. But I know that's what a lot of people do. Now, we do have an entry fee, but we're prepared to waive that entry fee if there's a situation in which you can't afford the entry fee. So please just get in contact, and we do waive the entry fee. As you can understand, if everyone did that, then we wouldn't have a competition to run. So fingers crossed, some of you will be able to afford it. And as you can appreciate, when we're putting out prizes which are worth €400 anyway, plus the fact that we're going to be commissioning an artist to create artwork and a publisher to create a book, and we're also going to print all sorts of things. We need some money through the competition to make it all happen. But what you do is you will find this comes up at the top of the event page, the competition page, and you literally pay your money. As I say, it's in euros, depending on whether you're submitting one piece or two pieces. You can submit a poem and a story, two poems, two stories, whatever the combo is. The limit is 250 words or under. There's no line limit. So if you do end up writing a poem that runs to 100 lines with 2 words in each of them, that's fine too. You get the opportunity of writing 8 words in a title, and it's incredible the number of people who don't give a title to their piece or their poem. And those 8 words can actually be the springboard to whatever follows. So don't forget the title. If you do forget the title, what we use is the first line or the first 8 words in the line of whatever you submit. What happens is you get a little message up once you've submitted, once you've paid the entry fee, and it says, oh, that went well. And you also get an email that confirms that you have you paid that. But what you need to do next to submit your piece is you need to click on the email that comes through on the payment confirmation, and it will take you to this page. And in the top right-hand corner is an icon with either your image or yourself grayed out. If you've put a headshot into your bio, it'll be that headshot which will appear in that top right-hand corner. And you click on that top right-hand corner, and a drop-down comes down, and it says My Tickets and Attendances. So you're buying a ticket for this competition. It's annoying to have that kind of language, I know, but that's what you're buying. You're buying a ticket to enter the competition. So you need to click on My Tickets and Attendances. And when you do, and you can also access that, not just through the email, you can access that through your My Profile page at the top. Then what will happen is you'll get, in your My Profile page, you'll get the image on the left. And if you do it directly from the form, you get the image on the right. But if you, the image on the left, you click on that banner that says Urban Tree Festival Writing Competition, and you will come through to the submission form. And that's where you put the title of your piece, you select the file, and you choose whether you're entering a poem or a story. Remember, if you're entering two pieces, you can, enter each one at a time, not both at the same time. And we invite you to enter a location of where that might take place. The reason that we do that is that we can explore the opportunities of creating a geolocated audio anthology. What we will be inviting shortlisters to do is to record themselves reading their piece aloud, or we can hire an actor to do that. We will then use those audio recordings to create an audio anthology. So there'll be an audio anthology as well as a print anthology. And both of those will become available before the Urban Tree Festival. They're limited in terms of the numbers we print. We never print more than 250. They go on sale for the festival and raise money for the Urban Tree Festival. So the money from the sale of all the editions of Canopy go to the Urban Tree Festival. So that's the sort of kind of process of how the competition works. The competition is now officially launched. And the great news is that when Joanna and Michelle recover, they've offered to run monthly workshops throughout the competition period. So there will be the opportunity if you want to join a workshop with them. And we're also rather hoping that, because they haven't actually done this workshop, that we'll be able to offer this, the workshop they had developed for this event to you as a free event to try and join again. But at the moment, I haven't got a clue how ill they are. I'm hoping to God they're not, going to be sent to hospital or anything dreadful like that. But I get the impression that they're, whatever they've got, it's hit them pretty bad, because they were very much looking forward to being involved. So as I say, we're just going to end it there. And thank you very much for coming. A big thank you to my colleague Het, who literally stepped in the last 24 hours. And a really big thank you to you all for signing up and getting involved. And as I say, you've leapt one hurdle, you've done the registration, you've just got to get through the submission process. And we really look forward to reading your work after March the 13th.